This episode of Grounded in Maine is sponsored by ESG Review. ESG Review magazine is published quarterly in February, May, August, and November, and is available for free in print and digital formats. ESG Review is devoted to environmental, social, and governance strategies, technologies, and investments. ESGreview.net is updated every Wednesday with 8 new stories and is home to feature articles, news items, and more. Visit esgreview.net to stay informed and help us spark the collaboration and awareness needed to develop sustainable economies and communities around the world.
There's a place where there's no trouble, no more pain, no more struggle.
Hi there. Thank you so much for listening to Grounded in Maine today. My name is Amy. I am speaking with Gary Goodrich today, who owns Replenova Farm Store in Durham, Maine, and he has a great message to share. He's got so much knowledge and wisdom, and I'm so glad that it worked out that we were able to talk, because I just appreciate him a lot. So I'm going to get right to that interview. I hope you enjoy it. Hi there. Thank you so much for listening to Grounded in Maine today. My name is Amy. I am here today with Gary Goodrich, the owner of Replenova Farm. Hey, Gary, how are you?
I'm doing great, Amy. Thanks.
Awesome. It's Monday, which is not a big work day. It's a less big work day, right?
Well, yeah, it's a busy day, but with the market closed, you can get a lot done.
Gotcha. So Replenova, in case anybody does not know, Replenova is where I make jam for Amy's Garden Jam, and Gary is the owner. And Replenova is a very cool place. I'll have Gary tell you about it. But Gary, so you left the corporate world to do this.
Well, a different industry for sure. I was in the biotech industry for 35, 40 years.
Wow. And so initially you started growing tomatoes, organic tomatoes.
Just to get my feet wet and to begin doing, establishing some wholesale accounts.
Cool. So now you own Replenova Farm and Market, which is such a cool place. It shows off so many local makers, along with your, of course, organic produce and items that you make. So tell us more about Replenova.
Well, I mean, the idea behind it was to try to just feed people locally. I mean, that's the main thrust. Maine doesn't do much of that, not enough of it. Maybe 20% of the food we eat comes from Maine. That's an estimate, but it's probably, from what I've been told, fairly accurate. And we just need to be more self-sufficient. And by doing this farm, I found that initially doing wholesale was not enough at the small to medium sized scale in order to make it work so that it would be financially sustainable. And so I felt that what I needed to do was to expand that into, say, more retail, and which a market enables us to do, a local market. And also then it also enables you to work with other farmers and other food producers like yourself, so that we can offer those products as well. And we have over 50, food farmers and food producers that we resell.
50.
That also gives a chance to make food with local foods, sandwiches and soups and salads. And then I hired a baker, which also, bakes bread, so we can have fresh bread for those things. And so that all sort of, it's a diversification that is making the financial sustainability piece doable.
Yeah. I mean, and it's cool. It's because there aren't a lot of places in Durham where someone can stop in and grab, something to eat. I mean,
Right.
there aren't that many places in Durham. I mean, the closest is going to be like, I don't know if the Get and Go has anything like that, but
Well, I think they make sandwiches and a few things like pizza. Um, but we try to keep, we're trying to use our vegetables a lot, the certified organic, and use the local meats and those cheese products and the milk products. We use local butter in the baking. So it's all about and those things are not inexpensive, but it supports the local food industry.
right. Well, and it's also so cool because people that come in will see that you're using your own fresh bread, you're using the cheese that you're selling, you're using the meats and the dairy and stuff like that. And I know I've seen at your place that there are like recipes. So you're like, you can do this too.
Right, right. Well, we'll try to encourage that. Um, and also the same thing in the spring, we'll do seedlings on some of the same plants that we're growing, cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, that sort of thing, and encourage people to grow your own food.
Right. It's so important. I've been thinking about that lately. Like one of, excuse me, I was listening to something and they were asking like what do you I wish I could remember exactly what the subject was, but my thought was like teach kids to garden. Like
Right.
what needs to be taught? And I was like teach kids to garden. Like why can't the schools have gardens?
Many of them do.
That's cool.
That's catching on now. I know Freeport does. I think they have some in Auburn, I think, as well, and Lewiston. There's a gal that works for me who has been doing a program for small kids so that they can learn how to grow food.
That's amazing.
And we've had some third grade classes over from Durham, the community school, and brought them out. And some of them dug potatoes, and they get to see where we're growing things and bring some vegetables home. And that's important to
Yeah.
engage kids so they see where the food does come from.
Absolutely. To appreciate it, to taste it, because there are some people I was just talking to somebody. Oh, I was just talking to somebody today and they were talking we were talking about sweet potatoes. And I was like, I discovered sweet potatoes as an adult and I love sweet potatoes, but my grandmother hated them. So
Yeah,
she didn't serve them to my dad, who didn't serve them to
sure.
me. And
Yeah.
so like, and it's only because my great grandmother was a nurse and her sister would come over when my great grandmother was helping someone have a baby and she would feed my grandmother sweet potatoes like crazy and she was like no I've had it. And so like but I think that it's so important for people to grow up and like you're doing, because I know that you offer some unusual or less common produce at your store. You've got kohlrabi and you've got the turnips and stuff like that, and you offer samples so that people can try that and say that's not scary, that's not
Right,
bad, I could totally use that, and you put it in your like salads and your pastas.
right,
And that's really smart because people don't, they only know what they grew up with.
right, sure. Yeah, what they're used to. And what's fun about having the market and having the retail space there, it's not a large space, it's a small space, but mostly it's serving Durham, but fortunately it's also Brunswick, like yourself, and Freeport and Auburn, a little bit of Lisbon, so all the town, a little bit of on the town surrounding it. But yeah, I think that's the idea.
Yeah, but I mean, so you're feeding your community, which is what that was your goal.
Oh, you're right. That's right. That's right. Because you can't do everything. I mean, the idea was not to try to mass produce something so that we could go national with it. Uh, I know there's a lot of Maine economic folks who, you know, if they're going to, if they're going to get behind you with financial support and whatnot, they want you to go big. But that's not something that I'm interested in doing. I've already had a, a long-term biotech business that did well, and I've done that already. So now I'm more interested in feeding people, and that includes people that that can't afford organic vegetables. As you know, they're quite expensive because they cost a lot more to produce
Right.
locally, and also to do the regulatory issues in producing those. There's more paperwork. It costs more to produce those. But it's important also to um, be able to give food away as well, food donations, and that's an important piece to the farm.
Right. Especially so there's less waste in case something is, you have
Well,
a bumper
many of the
crop or something.
vegetables, I would say 90 to 95% of the vegetables that we're giving away are the same ones that we're selling in the store.
Right.
So
But is it if you have a bumper crop, or do you have like, if we do
it,
a percentage of everything that we grow?
no, it's kind of um, it's a little of both. If we have a bumper crop of something, of course we'll give more of it away, but also we plan on growing certain things just to give away. Uh,
Oh,
Good
that's
example of
cool.
that is rutabaga. So we
Oh,
didn't have a very good yield this year. It was fairly poor, but we've given away 1,000 pounds of rutabaga to the Good Shepherd
holy
um,
crap.
couple of years ago, and they love it because it stores well. And there's a lot of people in Maine who grew up with that, and because
Except
they
we
grew
call
up
them
with it,
turnips.
they like it. Yeah, that's the common turnip,
I
rutabaga.
love it. Oh my gosh. That's awesome. And it's such a good hearty, and it's so dang sweet when you cook it. Um,
It is. It's
that's
sweet.
very cool. I was always curious about, like, I know that there are a lot of farmers that donate to the food pantries, but is it intentional, or is it
Yeah, I think a lot of them do it intentionally.
okay?
A lot of them who have the appropriate scale. For example, they may be growing, if we grow 1,000 pounds of something, that's a fairly large, well, for us, it's fairly large, although we'll do up to say 4,000 pounds of cucumbers. So, and maybe a few thousand pounds of tomatoes. But some of the larger farms they'll do, um, you know, 70,000 pounds of something. So giving away a couple thousand pounds
There's
is is
nothing. Yeah.
is not such a big deal.
Yeah.
And they're also set up to do, you know, uh, larger scale. That means you're farming, 100 plus acres.
Right. I was just always curious about that. So all right, so you were in biotech, and you left that to grow tomatoes, but your goal for that was feeding people. Like, that was, you just
Yeah,
wanted to do something that was more fulfilling,
yeah, and I
would you
thought it would
say?
be more novel. I started out growing cherry tomatoes and drying the cherry tomatoes, thinking they would be a great snack. They look like a red raisin, and that just didn't fly. So that didn't work very well. So it's pivot time. I've had to do that several times in my business career, and you just say, okay, then what do we, you know, what do we do different? And
Right.
this is where well, it's begin to diversify and grow more crops, right? So that's a start. And then getting the market enabled us to try everything. You know, you name it, we can grow it.
Right. Right. Well, because you grow ginger and turmeric and lemongrass, which are
Right, which are
not super
tropical
common things.
plants.
Yeah. Which is so cool. And I love that. So, folks that are listening, Gary does this really cool. Um, you package them up together. I know, like
Well,
you did
that's a
last year,
value,
like the little tea packages, but you
right?
package them together for smoothies and stuff like that, just to
Yeah.
make them more accessible.
Yeah, that's the thing. And it also enables us to do a little more value added for that particular crop. Um, so because there are two commercial kitchens, which you're fully aware of since you make your jam there,
Hmm.
um, it enables us to do some small scale food processing.
Yeah, that's very cool. Um, but yeah, lemongrass is not something that you can typically get. And I think that we were talking about that, and you were saying if you buy it here, it's usually dried, or it comes from China and or Asia, and it's not the same once it's traveled for so far, or is it because it's dried?
Yeah, it's usually dried. You can get some fresh. For example, Whole Foods get some from Massachusetts and some southern, and then maybe some southern states where it's a warm weather crop. But then that's a novelty, and it's also seasonal.
Right. And is it harder to grow here than it is?
Oh yeah, we grow it in the high tunnels because it even though it looks like this gnarly grass, it's just it dies in the winter, so it can't survive.
So it's not perennial. You have to replant it every year.
Yeah, by
Mm,
seed every year, and the seed it's kind of a challenge. So because most of the seed that you get has something like 10 to 30% germination. So
that's not a great percentage for sure.
no, you buy 100 seeds and you get 10, 10 or 20 of them to grow.
Mm, okay.
So
Well,
it's a bit of a challenge.
yeah, yeah, for sure. But it's got to be so satisfying when people's eyes light up when they're like, "You have fresh lemongrass." Do
Right,
people
right.
do that?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and it's nice to use it myself. I mean, it's nice to have it to. I mean, once you start using something novel like that, you start finding more and more ways to use it.
For sure.
So, but like you had said before, I need to spend more time doing this is continuously offering people ways to use it. A recipe for this, or use it in this dish, or
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Okay. Well, that's a great winter project.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Summer's a little
Put
bit
put
busy.
put it on my
Um,
list.
right? So are you are you glad that you made the change that you did, moving to feeding people? Has it
Yeah,
worked out?
yeah, no, it has worked out. It's particularly since I uh built the barn and the market with the two kitchens. Um that's the infrastructure that's required to do this sort of thing. And it just gives you such flexibility. Um without that, you really can't do that. You can't do it very effectively.
Okay.
As you know, making things at home is difficult.
Yeah,
I mean,
especially if you don't have great water. But
well,
yes,
water
you
and
just don't have all the
and the
space.
facility that's
Yeah,
required. So, right, there are rules on making these things.
right. Cooling, storage,
Yep,
equipment,
right.
for sure. So what is the most satisfying thing about Replenova for you? Like I know that you're feeding people, but like what are you just like this was this just makes me feel
Well,
so happy.
it's still a work in progress, but the most satisfying thing will be to get this so that the farm can run on its own without me. Eventually, obviously,
Right.
that's going to happen at some point here. So, The whole idea is to just keep it going and make it an ongoing uh, farm.
Right. So inspire people to want to keep it going,
Yeah,
basically. Yeah. And train the people to do it
right.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you will allow me for a minute, I want to just kind of brag about Replenova a little bit. So I there are so many things that I love about Replenova. I love that one, it's close to me. Two, there's a kitchen I can use.
Right.
Um, but three, like the people that you're doing business with, Gary, are so lucky that there is a business that is bringing all these, I mean, 50 people, 50 different businesses, farmers, producers in a small town where you have a chance. I mean, who would ever buy, Amy's Garden Jam in Portland? Like, it would get lost in a store in Portland. But like, it's just the for me, it's the fact that I can be associated with all of these other people, and and I mean, I think that you are very creative when it comes to, I know you've had to pivot, but like you're so creative when it comes to that pivot. Like I've said it a million times, but like the celery leaf powder is a game changer for me. You know what? I put it in popcorn today. I put it on my popcorn and it was fantastic. But
Yeah.
so for
That's a great
everyone
idea. I
listening
never
though,
heard of that before, but I think it's a
oh,
excellent way to use it.
I mean, you can get little lads popcorn and it has the herbs, the dill and whatever else is in it, but like why not celery leaf? But so
Yeah.
celery leaf powder, Gary is a genius, and instead of composting, which he does compost, he also dries the the tips of the celery, the leaves of the celery, which usually a normal person, until I met you, have always composted.
Right.
But
And
so you
they're quite
dehydrate that.
nutritious as well.
It is so good. I mean, celery, I love celery anyway, but to be able to use that is it really is a game changer. It goes in all my egg dishes. I made my own and I gave it for gifts last year. And one
Nice.
of the people was like, I put it on all my potatoes. But
Well, that's a great way to do it too. Yeah.
yeah, but popcorn, I was like, sweet. I
Yeah.
totally figured that out.
That's
That's
a
great.
fantastic idea.
But it's a great seasoning. You got the celery without I know people they have weird things about the stringy celery, but I love it. But so you get the celery flavor, the strong celery flavor, which it's
Right.
stronger even
Yeah.
than,
A little bit goes a long way.
yeah. But it's so good. But so you also do like aronia berry powder, which is a superfood, lots and lots of antioxidants. You can put it in your smoothie. You can put it in a glass of milk. What do you do it with smoothies generally?
Yeah, generally that's what I do. It's it's not it's not particularly sweet, unless you added a sweetener. And that, the sweeteners that we add whenever we can is honey or maple syrup, because again, here's two locally made natural sweeteners.
Right. Um, but that, and you make your own pesto. You make a
Yeah,
couple different pestos.
right. Yeah, a tomato pesto and a regular basil pesto. Yeah, that's fun. Actually, we've also made a um, shallot and ginger pesto as well. So
Oh,
that
I
was
bet that's really
Eric's
interesting.
idea, my farm manager, and we did some of that last year. We'll do it again this year.
Cool. But that's like, this is the kind of thing that Gary comes up with, and finds ways to sell things, and dried things take no you don't have to put them in the refrigerator, which is
Yeah,
fantastic.
and
Um,
that's a throwback. I mean, you go back 100 years, that's what people did. They dried things, or they salted things, or they fermented things,
right.
and those are good ways to preserve food.
Right. But so he also has crafty things. There's a cutting board company. There's an herbalist. There's a the soap company,
Yeah.
Run Around Pond
Great
Soap.
soap.
But you also have um, your tote bags. You've got the Replenova tote bags for super cheap for a reusable
Yeah.
bag.
I think the $10, right? Yeah.
But there, it's a great size and got good straps anyway. But I just think, personally, I think Replenova is kind. It's I tell people to go. I tell people it's sort of like a destination. You've got food, you've got produce, you've got, you can get sandwiches or salads, soup, blah blah blah. You can also buy jam or herbs or all this stuff. Like it's got everything. It's just smaller scale, and you're in
Right.
the country, not like the crazy. I don't love the city, but so
Right.
you're in Durham, not like some
Right.
super busy
I think
area.
it's appropriately sized for the community. And I like to think that, we could have these sorts of markets everywhere in the state where it's appropriate. Um, and, a lot of people do want to support the local food community. But, you know, everyone has to decide for themselves, what portion of their food bill uh, you know, will they use to support the local
Right.
food industry? And everyone is different.
Right. But I also think it was really smart of you to partner up with Farm Drop. I mean, not only to sell your products on Farm Drop, but also to be a pickup place. That's very clever because people will come to pick it up and say, "Oh, hey, oh, you have milk. You have chocolate milk. Not only milk,
Right.
but you have chocolate milk." And oh, there's eggs here too, and like things that people might not have thought of or might not have looked at when they were on Farm Drop because everything is category based. But
Yeah.
um,
And
but
that,
that's very
that's an
clever.
interesting concept, the farm drop. I mean, um, the two women who started that, I think now it's maybe 6 years ago, maybe. So I was initially joining that when there was a pickup in Portland, and
Oh
we were in
wow,
Cumberland, so it was actually an 8-minute drive to get there. That's how close it was. But um, for some reason, I think because Portland has a very large farmers market and a whole bunch of local markets, and people can walk to these places, that it
the
just didn't do as well there. Whereas I think when it's more rural, you can draw from outer communities that can drive, again, not that far a distance for them, and be able to basically do your shopping instead of going to my market. They can do it online. So I think there's some benefits to that. You certainly can get some interesting foods, and so we're in there too. We can get some of our foods.
absolutely 100%. But I love that there are so many options locally for for a rural area that you can get all these things. But I love going to Replinova, and I always run into somebody that I don't know, but I wish that I did, because you're getting the locals that come in, and I don't know. Do you have people that have a regular order? Like they
Well,
come in and they
we
have
have
their own
yeah, we have
sandwich.
regulars who come in and they get sometimes the same thing. Whether it's a sandwich or oftentimes it's the breads. It's nice. The interesting thing is, instead of just blueberry bread, we like to put elderberries in it, or aronia berries. Now this year the aronia berry crop failed with our source. Now we're growing our own, but that I've got to build that up. It's not ready yet. And But our elderberries went well, so now we do a blueberry elderberry bread. So those are again some options that one customer comes in and every week buys that bread or a blueberry bread every week.
Awesome.
So and there are some people who come in and they just buy the milk. That's all they buy. because it's it's raw milk. It's fresh. It's got that nice thick layer of cream on the top. And
Yep,
they come in they buy a half gallon of milk. That's great.
for sure. I mean that they're choosing Replenova instead of, who wherever else. I mean that's
Well,
their
it's convenient too. I mean, for people who live there, they don't have to go 7 or 8 or 10 miles somewhere
right.
to go food shopping.
Right. And I mean, the placement of Replinova is pretty cool. I mean, you're practically on a highway, so there's a lot of traffic,
Right.
a lot of really fast traffic. But you're right next door to a bed and breakfast, which is cool. So
Yep.
I know that Miss Mary serves Amy's Garden Jam, and they
Right.
probably know that they can come next door and get that. And
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And they can have lunch since they serve breakfast there. So it's nice. The Bliss Inn was, and the fact that the new owners came in and really jump started it and got it renovated, and they're pretty energetic young couple, so it's great. Right.
right,
The kids come over all the time.
right. But so Replinova is truly community based. Like what is I know that you were saying, oh, you were talking about the tofu the other day that comes from about 50 miles,
Yeah, Rockland. Yeah.
but everything else is within 10,
Yeah,
15 miles.
everything. Well, yeah, the I put a map on the wall, so that's a 30-mile radius, and all but maybe 5 vendors are outside of that. But it's those vendors are sort of sole sources for me.
Right, right.
Things
Um,
like Maine grains that or Skowhegan, but
right,
uh, that's it. That's the only place you're going to get grains from me.
right, right,
Plus organic grains too, which are great.
for sure.
It still shows that if you can, what truly is local, and a lot of people have different opinions about what local food is. I mean, there's no standard definition. So I can make it up, you know,
Right,
and I think that's in general, a pretty reasonable distance, so that you can get the food. It doesn't travel cross country. It doesn't have to go too far.
right,
It's easier for some of the vendors to drop off, and it's easier for me to pick up. So it's both.
right. And yeah, it's not coming on a big truck. It's not traveling across the country. It's fresher and healthier.
Right.
But and just
For sure.
I just hope that people appreciate it as much as like they should, really. I mean, I
As
know
much as you do, right?
as much as I do, right? I mean, I really I think about that a lot, with the so much food comes on huge trucks, so all the fuel, all the time, all the
Yeah. Well,
dirty
and then
air.
it's the quality of the food, because
Yeah,
some of it has to ripen en route.
right. You pick
So,
it not ripe, and then you
right.
hope that it
So
ripens
that's a
enough.
standard practice, but um,
You
it's
don't have
just,
to do that.
yeah, and that's a joy too. I really enjoy working with the farmers and the food artisans that are making, like yourself.
For sure.
So I mean, that's it's fun. It's
Right.
really
The networking is pretty cool. I mean, I love that there are so many different people that want to get their stuff out, and people that appreciate it and purchase it. I know the is it Atwood Farms, the pickled beets? So good.
that one
Oh, the
is
kettle.
right. That one is in Wales.
Okay. Those are
So
so good.
they have some nice products there. It's kind of a farm co-op there.
Oh, that's cool. Um, but I think there's so much to be gained from a smaller business, but supporting other producers. I
Right.
just think, I think
They're all
between
small
you and
business.
Farm Drop, the Durham community is well cared for.
Yeah, I think so.
So I hope that you hear often enough, Gary, that people really appreciate what you're doing.
Quite a bit. That's it's nice to hear from people who come in and thank me and thank for, providing this.
Right.
Yeah, I do hear it, and it's quite gratifying.
Yeah. I mean, it's very cool to be, for me, to be associated with you, a big, big time business owner, and the
Well,
people that you're doing business with. Like there are other jams in your store, and I'm still there, which is
yeah.
cool.
Well, just there's just one, and I make sure that they're not the same as yours. You have
Yeah.
unique flavors,
Well,
and
there's
and you
two
have a
really, because
unique size,
the
and
kettle
I think
jam.
yours actually sells the best.
Well, it's cheaper, but but it's such a huge benefit to our community. I'm going to say our because I'm right on the border,
Right.
and because I frequent it. But so I hope that you hear it often enough to keep you going. But so what when I say the word sustainability, Gary, what does that mean to you?
Well, it's actually several things. Sustainability is in terms um, of environment, in terms of energy, in terms of so land, water, air, um, people, sustain people as well, which is pay a decent wage and and hire local people, and that's part of the sustainability. And of course, as if it's going to be around for a long time, it's a financial sustainability as well. And to farm in a sustainable manner, which means you improve the land as you farm, and that's what we're doing. We're taking clay and turning it into farmland, which is a
It's
lot of
so
Maine. It's an
important.
awful lot of clay in Maine.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, I remember hearing, and I know that's a big question, what is sustainability? But I mean, it's something different to everybody. But I remember we went to the desert of Maine once, and the desert of Maine was a farm for hundreds of years, and then they just killed it, and now it's sand. But so, because they were not, I guess they weren't nourishing it enough. But and so, all right, so you are improving the land as you're farming it, but you also, so Replenova is solar powered.
Yeah, producing our own energy, right? So, and that's important too. I mean, again, it's reducing your carbon footprint to, it's not zero, but it's pretty low. And it also helps, it also contributes to the long-term financial stability of the farm because it gives you a very low energy bill, and that helps you operate a farm.
Right. Was there, okay, so this podcast is a platform for you, really. I mean, I have questions obviously, but like, is there anything else that you wanted to share with the
I,
listeners?
you know the place, and you
I
know what we're
do.
about. So I think you hit all the highlights. I mean, there's pretty much. Um, I think the one thing I do want to say is that there are many farms in Maine that have this sort of same model. They they have a market, they retail vegetables, they do some wholesale. A lot of them have animals. Now, don't have any animals, but they have chickens or they have beef or and so they're even more diversified. And they have their source of manure to make their own fertilizer, right? To make their own compost.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have that, and that's one disadvantage of. But again, animals are also, they use up a lot of resources, and
Right.
you know, as does, a pound of meat versus a pound of vegetables. But I have nothing against that. But again, I think there are a lot of farms that that have this in mind, and are pursuing it. And when you're young and you're just starting out, uh, generally speaking, you don't have the financial resources to do it. So it's a long-term process. Um, I had the good fortune to be able to just do it because I had a successful business which I sold, and I was able to self-finance. And that's something that I think in the future, um, there's investment in Maine, and there's a lot of investment in different types of businesses, but maybe not enough in the agricultural sector for this sort of small farm and market model.
Hmm.
So I hope to see more of that as in the future.
Right. We need to make sure to, and I know, there are people outside of Maine that are listening to this. I hope you're listening outside of Maine. But if you know of those farms or farm stores, the smaller farm stores, please support them, because they're there for you. They're there for them. They're there for all of us, and we need to um, take care of our community, eat locally, and eat fresh produce.
Right.
But so Gary, I highly recommend that people go to Replenova. If you're in Maine, if you're in the Durham, Brunswick area, please go to Replenova. What is it, 1252 Royalsboro Road? 12,
That's it.
1252.
Route 136, right?
On Route 136.
It's
But,
only it's 7 miles from Beans, LL Beans.
right.
It's not
Uh,
that far.
Absolutely. So if you go to LL Bean, just take a little quick turnaround. But so how would someone find you? I know they can sign up. They can go to your website, which is
Yes. Yep. Yep. Replenova.
replenova.com.
Yep. That's
Okay.
it.
And they can sign up for your newsletter. So you'll tell
Right.
people what's going on each week.
Right. And
And then
there's
you're
Facebook, of course, and Instagram accounts. So we're
okay.
on
And
social media.
right. And it's Replenova Farm LLC. Is that what it
Yep.
is?
Hmm.
Okay. But I just want to make sure so people can find you and
Yeah,
support.
the name is unique enough that if you just get Replenova, you'll find us.
Right. What does Replenova mean?
Well, it's kind of a combination of a couple Latin words. Replen, which is to renew or replenish, which and nova is new. So that's kind of the idea. It's kind of a play on the sustainability idea.
Nice. And I know that you have just to go back a little bit. So there's a sign inside Replenova, and I forget the exact wording, but there are actually a couple of different signs inside. One of them it's a quote. The the purpose of the purpose of something is to nourish the earth or something like that. And that's way
The
off, I'm
response,
sure.
I think one is the responsibility of agriculture is to feed people.
That's the one.
Yeah,
That's the one. And I love that. That's right it's on the inside of when you walk in the door, it's right in front to the like over the freezer,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, there are some people who have written about um, the philosophy of farming, right? And some of this stuff goes back 50, 80 years.
Yeah.
A lot of smart people who have thought about this, but then, what we're doing is large scale industrial farming, and that's not a healthy way to eat.
Well, and it's not great for the land either.
Right, exactly. Environmentally, it's a disaster.
Right. But so I love also, I'm just like, I'm going to keep going back to this, but so you've also partnered with some local businesses, because I know, like, you and I have teamed up a little bit for some jam
Yep.
combinations, but you
Use some
also,
of our the things we grow, which is great.
yeah, the pretty ruby, is it ruby rhubarb? What's the type of rhubarb?
The aronia, right? Weren't you using aronia?
I use some aronia, yes. But also I use some of the rhubarb, which is just super duper red, and it makes the rhubarb marmalade so pink and pretty.
Yeah, it is pretty.
But you teamed up with West McCoy vinegar,
Yeah, yeah. We provided the ginger and the turmeric for that. He then makes a vinegar out of. It's a couple of the ingredients.
right? And
So
then
his vinegars are kind of specialty things that are used for like salad dressing, that kind of thing, something fancy.
right. And then also the green bee soda
Right, right. And
or seltzer,
that I'm really happy with because um they make a ginger, but it's with sugar,
right?
and we just use the gin. We do a sparkling water with just our ginger and lemongrass, and that went over really well. And we're gonna double the production for next year.
Nice, nice. And are there any other local companies that you've teamed up with that I'm not aware of?
That we have their product in. I don't think so, not currently, but
Okay.
I'm always interested.
Right. Right. Well, and that's part of the your like ingenuity that you're like pivoting constantly, always thinking about how you can get your stuff into more items and how you can combine with other products. And I
Well, and it's
do
also collaborate with other businesses because
absolutely.
it's when you do these projects, they're win-win projects.
Right. It's more, yeah, absolutely. But I think that's really, really smart. I think that's smart of you. I think that's smart of them. I think it's just a really great, I think it's a really great practice just to team up with other people. I mean, you're getting more exposure, you're getting more product, um, and more people will hear about you. It's cool. But anyway, so I'm gonna put your website on the show notes, of course, and Instagram, Facebook, and I'm gonna do a little on my show notes, and
Okay,
I think that was everything that I had. Thank you so much.
great. Well,
Thank
thank
you so
you.
much for your time.
You
It's
you
a
hit
pleasure always,
you covered a lot of bases.
for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Well,
But
well, thank
anyway,
you. I know I've been meaning to do this with you, but now we have.
now we have. It's true. But anyway, I probably won't see you before Thanksgiving, so have a happy Thanksgiving.
Okay, you too.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
See you, Gary.
Bye now.
Bye. I want to just take a quick second and thank my guest again. I also need to thank Buzzsprout for hosting the podcast and Jane Bolduck for her amazing music. And thank you for listening.
There'll come a day, my mama told me, when I find love to have and hold me, a heart that's strong and so sincere. Just tell me, how do I get there from here? Oh, tell me, how do I get there from here? 'Cause here and now I'm so far down that mercy's bound, yeah, to find me. We'll find a way to soothe the sickness. We'll heal the aches with sweet forgiveness. Wages of war will disappear. Just tell me, how do I get there from here? I wonder, how do I get there from here? Yeah, 'cause here and now when that state of grace has finally found me, well, there'll be music, ooh, and good friends around me, yeah, yeah. And I'll just smile through happy tears and wonder